The tea industry is one of the main sources of foreign exchange for Sri Lanka. But a sharp drop in exports because of the pandemic and an ill-fated push to organic farming has given a jolt to the industry. We travelled to tea estates in Hatton district in central Sri Lanka. Nestled in the scenic hills, these quaint tea estates are central to Sri Lanka's economy. They employ more than 500,000 people. But the economic crisis has forced changes. I spoke with Dilhan Fernando, the CEO of Dilmah Tea, about the extent of the impact.
Initially, where it concerned the safety of our people was the fact that we had to build parallel transport networks. That was going back to the pandemic. Extending that into what evolved into the economic crisis was the fact that the power cuts, yes, and there again, it's an increase in costs because you're running generators, you're building capacity for fuel storage, you're doing things that you have never done before. And you're seeing a lot of businesses adapting.
Does this uncertainty, both on the economic side as well as on the political side, does that worry you as an industrialist?
Absolutely, it is what we wake up every morning. I mean, I think I speak for many others who are also in the export and other industries. People involved in imports, and we have one part of our business that has been importing and supplying stationery and different items. I mean, that side of the business is completely closed. There is another side where here, Resplendent Ceylon with tea tourism, that side has found its ability to engage with its customers, reassure them and make sure that they're safe and be able to build the environment that is required for their safety and to continue. Where the tea export side is concerned, it's similar. So I think it has had different impact on different sectors.
How has this economic crisis affected your plantation workers? Are they participating in protests to talk about the impact of the crisis on their lives?
Absolutely. This is a people's protest. It's not a political one. It's the people crying out for better government, for more competent management of the economy. And it's the people fundamentally recognizing that now is a time for us to forget what has distanced us and look to what unites us.
Do you also go to these protests?
Absolutely. Like everyone in my family, our colleagues and so on. What is important about this is the environment in the protests. It's not one of agitation, not of violence. It is one of constructive criticism and seeking what is a common and a good objective. They're asking ultimately for better government. They're asking ultimately for greater unity, and they're asking for less politics. There is nothing in that to oppose or not to support.
Let me talk to you about the impact of this rapid switch from chemical fertilizers to organic fertilizers. What was the impact of that on your business, and do you see that as a reason for the partial food shortages?
Absolutely, there can be no question. It was a very unwise move because soils, particularly soils such as these, with 150 years of use in plantations, cannot immediately be adjusted to provide the nutrients required for organic cultivation. And so it didn't impact only the plantation sector. It wasn't just tea, rubber, it was also spices, it's food production generally. The market simply doesn't exist for a nation to convert overnight, certainly not in tea. It would have been a catastrophe. The assumption there was that yes, there was knowledge that we would lose 20% of our yield, but there was expectation that there would be a 20-30% increase in value. That was theoretical and completely ill-informed. So it came at the worst possible time, and it has had a debilitating effect. But fortunately, with the reversal, we're seeing around us the beginnings of recovery.
Which are the regions that are doing well when it comes to exports, and has there been a slump in demand from your larger export countries, China and Russia?
There has, and it's connected as much with the increase in logistics cost. You're not talking about 10-20%, you're talking about 100-200% in cost of freight. So in that environment, you have also countries that are battling inflation, particularly food inflation. So Russia has attempted this to cap food inflation for obvious reasons, political and otherwise. And so, of course, there is a slump in demand because they're looking to alternate sources. The same applies where China is concerned, but China, you have the additional factor that the lockdown, the zero COVID policy has imposed severe restrictions on supply.
Are you diversifying to other markets, other products?
At this point, it's diversification that will keep the market going. Because Ceylon tea, the reality is, for all the reasons you see around you, the conservative agricultural practices, the traditional, the hand picking, etc. And this is terrain that defies mechanization. So we are always going to have a relatively high cost of production. So in that environment, the future lies in diversifying. For our part, we are looking at authentic iced teas. We're looking at different products that are based on tea, but also connecting tea and spices and so on. And the opportunity is huge because tea works beautifully with different spices, with different foods, with different drinks, and diversification and innovation absolutely is the future.